Jordan, Jonathan, nice to see you guys again. Wanted to talk a little about this trip you guys took to Africa. So first off, why did you go to Africa?
We went to Africa with Kiro because ultimately it was, just an opportunity to go somewhere I had never been at first. And then Kiro explaining his mission, his Pens for Africa mission, to bring, a suitcase or a duffel bag completely full of pens, paper, and stickers, and another one completely full of over 200 pounds of prosthetic limbs. It just seemed like something real powerful to do while I was on a vacation, because initially I was going to go to Thailand, but then I remembered about that offer and I was like, I'd rather go to Africa with someone who's from there and really have like a local tour guide essentially, and really be able to get the true, local feel of being there. And it wasn't even until I got there that I realized how, I guess, underprivileged that particular country in Burundi was. And so, yeah, just the opportunity to be able to change people's lives, do something positive, and experience something totally different is why I went.
I was looking to just experience new things and get out of the country, and I felt like joining my brother Jordan on this trip was such a good way to do that and travel with him, and as well as like do some charity work out there. I can definitely say I didn't know how impactful it was going to be on me, or how like really amazing the things and the big differences that it really makes, like us bringing those small things, like the pens specifically is literally such a small thing that made such a big impact. And I didn't realize how amazing it would be until I got there. And that's part of the reason why I'm so excited to continue and be doing this.
Very cool. Can you elaborate more on the impact you guys made while you were out there?
Yeah, totally. For example, the pens, I have so many pens, as I'm assuming most of us that are watching this have a ridiculous amount of pens. So many times I've thrown away a pen just because it doesn't work as well as I want it to. So, landing there and going to a school and handing out pens and seeing people so excited over it and really wanting it and lining up for it, getting in crowds for a pen, because it really can make an impact on their whole lives. It can feed a family. If they already have one, they can go to the marketplace and sell it and be able to feed their family for the night. And just to know that's, I can have boxes of that, or, just go to any place and take one as well. Really was the first time that I've seen true poverty and seen how such small things can make a difference. On top of that, knowing that we brought prosthetic legs out there and giving the ability to walk to people that couldn't walk before is such a beautiful thing. Bringing mosquito nets and seeing mothers happy that their children are safe from mosquitoes, which is the highest cause of infant mortality over in developing countries like Burundi, is also really beautiful, and that had a big impact, I'm sure, on them, but on me as well.
Kind of to piggyback off what you said, just being able to see how much of an impact things that we really take for granted here in America or in any first world country. We laugh and joke sometimes about first world problems, not having Wi-Fi, this and that, but it's just kind of a joke, and you don't really understand how deep that is, what that really means, until you're in it and you've seen it firsthand and you experience it, and you can see the light in people's eyes when you hand them something that you basically disregard and throw away when it's even working. You just have too many of them and you just need to get rid of them. So just being able to see that, bringing pens and paper to schools and just walking around villages passing out pens and paper, and having sometimes hundreds of people following behind us, just spreading Kiro's mantra, love never dies, just shouting at the top of their lungs, oops, and just spreading that message of love that Kiro really just tried to drive into every person that he came in contact with. And yeah, bringing the prosthetic limbs was one of the most powerful things we could do, because over there, you know, they just have such lack of resources at hospitals. You know, sometimes people would, you know, like Jonathan said, go to the hospital for something minor, you know, for a broken toe or a big laceration on their leg or arm or something, and then they would end up catching malaria or having the limb amputated. So being able to bring prosthetic limbs to an amputee clinic and just seeing people just getting emotional, crying that they're going to be able to walk, you know, albeit on crutches, but they're going to be able to walk again, or possibly for the first time. They might have had limbs amputated when they were very young. The most impactful experience that I particularly remember was bringing the prosthetic limbs to an amputee clinic. We handed out prosthetic limbs to a ton of patients, but I remember one person in particular, and I'll never forget his face. I saw him walk up on his hands, on his knuckles, with his legs missing from above the knee down, and you know, within probably 2 hours or less later, I saw that same man walking away on crutches with 2 limbs that we had brought. So that was like just a very particular moment with one particular person that I remember, and just the ability to be able to make that change and provide that for even one person is extremely powerful. But to be able to continue to do that is why I'm excited to build the Love Never Dies Foundation.
How did you feel when you were back here, and like, you know, what drove you to now starting this foundation?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I feel like I touched on it a little bit, but I would love to elaborate more. Specifically with the pens, every time I look at a pen now, it kind of like hurts a little bit, but also just because like I have so many of them, and it's so replaceable, it's so disposable in my life. And then I start to think about, like, if it's just the pens, like I can look at literally every single aspect of my life and like only have gratitude. Like I have so much that I use every day that I feel like to other people in the world is like a dream, you know. And it's really easy for me to be grateful for every part of my life now, like way more. And I encourage anyone to travel to another part of the world that is more developing than what you're used to, because to be able to have that perspective, it really is a priceless thing.
Jordan, what about you?
Yeah, so, you know, just kind of to reiterate what he said, it just changed a lot of my perspective on life and taking things for granted, you know, being ungrateful, and just having that ability to know that, you know, we really can change people's lives for the better, and having them know that there are people out there outside of their circumstances that are willing to make that change for them, willing to put the work forward in order to give them that. And being over there, people seeing my social media posts and stuff and just contacting me and asking me if they can send me money and stuff so that I can continue to help and do what I was doing even more with their contribution. It really allowed me to see life from a different scope. And it's something that I'll never forget. You know, once you live in that situation, I don't know if you can ever kind of unsee it or forget it, you know, because we were there for 6 weeks. So it wasn't like, you know, just a week or, you know, a few days. We were really living there and bonding with the people and getting to know the way that they lived. And yeah, I would say, again, it definitely changed me for the better and just made me a more grateful person overall.
Yeah, definitely. The experiences are what inspired us to make the foundation. I think on top of that, when we were there, me and Jordan definitely talked about coming back and doing it again, because I think another impact that was made upon us on the trip is we realized how easy it would be to continue doing this, and to be supported by other people to do this. And all we have to do really is do it, because we have everything at our fingertips with the internet, social medias, everything is connected for us.
It's pretty, pretty much the same or similar for me. While we were there, talking to Kiro, we already had talked with him about continuing to come back, because he made the trips about once a year. So continuing to come back and just continue building upon that. And once we started it, I knew right away, like, okay, next time we come, we're gonna build upon this. We're gonna kind of bring more exposure to what we're doing beforehand in order to accumulate more resources to bring, talk to more people about it. And, I have the footage from our trip there and stuff to kind of promote it more. So ever since it kind of started, I immediately knew, okay, we're gonna do this bigger. We're gonna do this bigger. We're gonna do this better, and help Kiro make this even more impactful than it already is. And then, unfortunately, Kiro passed away at the end of that year in 2019. And so once that happened, it was just like, we have to carry that on, because he's not here to do it anymore. And it's something so powerful and so life-changing. If you were there, like I said, we'd have hundreds of people running behind us, chasing our car, just so grateful for us to be there and to know that there are people who care about them and want to see them improve and strive to become better. So yeah, I would say that the experience of getting to do what we did, compounded with the fact that, my good friend passed away, is really what drove us to build upon this. And we had been talking about it for a while now, a couple years now, and then finally we were just like, we're doing it. And so that's what we did. We're collecting pens now, and we're doing it, and it feels really good.
Where do you see the foundation going in the next 5 years? What direction do you see it taking?
For me, Love Never Dies is, ever since I was thinking about it then, I always imagined just something way bigger than just bringing material goods and material resources to Africa, which is a great thing because, obviously it can provide an opportunity for people. They can sell the goods, they can utilize them way more efficiently than we can, or we even, care to, or we may take for granted. But ultimately, I imagine Love Never Dies being an outlet for all sorts of resources that can better people's lives. For one, education. I would love to see the Love Never Dies Foundation have their own compound or their own facility where they're able to offer education to those that really need it and are willing to put the work in to learn a new skill, learn a new trade skill, and, get something that can better their life forever. Not something with a finite supply that's going to be expended once they use it or once they sell it, but knowledge to, continually better themselves, learn trade skills. I would love to be able to, sponsor a teacher who can teach construction or can teach technical proficiency, computer skills, things of that nature, in order to really benefit the lives of people in a long-lasting way. Just like the old saying goes, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So for me, that's what I ultimately see the Love Never Dies Foundation being, is something that we can provide, us being able to provide things that last for life, aka education, really.
And on top of that, within the same field of trying to provide things that last for a lifetime, I see it personally growing into a media collective, or at least like a resource center for young creatives of originally Burundi, because that is where we're starting out, but I also see Love Never Dies expanding into other East African countries, and from there, like, I think the sky is the limit. I really do. And within that, I see it growing into a media collective, so a place for young creatives to go to, maybe like library style, check out a camera, to walk around with a camera, or shoot their own little music video, or shoot videos of any type. Having a room within the facility that has a microphone, just like a studio room for people to start podcasts, because I'd be interested in hearing what Burundian people have to say. Probably much more than most podcasts now, or vlogs as well. I'd love to see different parts of the world and see interactions in that way. And through that, music as well. I think, music comes from everyone. It comes from every culture. And to be able to empower young creatives to be able to do that, I think would help the community as well as those individuals a lot. So that's where I see it going within the next 5 years.
Where do you see Love Never Dies in the next 6 months?
So for the next 6 months, over the next 6 months, what we want to do is just kind of start small, collecting pens. That's the easiest task that I think we can achieve, going around to different stores in Orange County, talking to different people, and just setting up events to fundraisers for pens, because that's the simplest thing we can do. We also see if we can start sourcing prosthetic limbs, either through him or some of his other resources. So over the next 6 months, our goal is to just spread the word about what we're doing, what we're building. And ultimately, I don't know if this will be done within the next 6 months, maybe a year, but we want to get a legitimate nonprofit organization set up, the Love Never Dies Foundation, so that way we can start taking monetary donations and really start driving this thing forward, and just making bigger and bigger plans for how we want to, change East Africa for the better.
Yeah, I think Jordan touched on a majority of like what we plan on doing in the next 6 months. I can say just today is kind of like our first action, other than like writing stuff down and talking about it. Today was kind of our first going out there and doing it, and just our one experience was so magical. So I'm feeling really good about it. I'm excited to go to different businesses around where Kiro was operating in Costa Mesa, and seeing if we can get them to start accepting pen donations. And I think that's such a simple and easy thing for us to get started, and I'm excited to know that we are doing it and getting traction already. So it's really exciting. Good foundation being set right now.
Absolutely. So yeah, keep an eye out for the Love Never Dies LND Foundation. Make sure you follow us on our social media accounts. Follow us, promote us, let people know, talk to businesses around your local area. If you want to get in contact with us, life@loveneverdies.life. You can send us an email. We would love to hear from you, hear from different businesses that want to donate pens, whatever resources you can provide. Everything is going to be appreciated. If you have even bigger ideas than we've talked about today, feel free to reach out. We would love to get anyone and everyone involved.
Yeah, absolutely. If you specifically as well, if you have any connections for prosthetic limbs, do reach out. And on top of that, if you just are excited about our cause and you want to create something for us or with us, let us know. We would love to collaborate with anyone and everyone and anyone.
Absolutely.